How have you been since we last spoke?
Oh, very good, thank you. A little angry, but very good.
In 1962, a U.S. soldier sent to guard the peace in South Korea undertook an extraordinary journey. At the height of the Cold War, he deserted his unit, walked across the most heavily fortified area on Earth, and defected to an alien communist state, North Korea. The existence of an American defector living in the heart of the Cold War enemy was denied for decades by both the U.S. and North Korean governments.
I've been an orphan all my life. I wanted to run away and get to something new. And once I made up my mind to do something, I did it.
A coveted star of the propaganda machine, this man has ingratiated himself in a system that perpetuates hatred of the U.S. and subordinates the individual to the state and the leader. Who was this man? Where had he come from? What had possibly possessed him to turn his back on America, defect to the North Korean communists, and live under their protection to this day?
You gentlemen, I believe you because you come here and you want the truth. I want you to have the truth. You just ask the questions that are far away. I'm going to start a cigarette. Yes, thank you. The story I'm telling you now, I just want to put a little stress. I'm telling you, I've never told no one. Anyone. I have never regretted coming to the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. I feel at home. I really feel at home. I was just a regular soldier. And then I give it up and came over. I wouldn't trade it for nothing. I think you know the Workers' Party mark. The hammer represents the worker, the brush represents the intellectual, and the sickle represents the farmer.
James Joseph Dresnok, or Joe as he prefers to be called, has spent twice as long in North Korea as he has in America. Korean is the language he uses most in his daily life.
Once in a great while I come in and look around. Otherwise, just sit in the bus and let my wife do the shopping. 난 어디 가서 옷 만드는 것도 마음이 없는데, 너무한테만 해야 마음이 있다. 나보다 더 큰 사람 옷을 만들어 봤는가?
해봤습니다.
It has a great meaning for the people, of the people, and by the people. Everything would be built and done in the city under the teachings of the great leader.
It was 1962 when Dresnok was last in America. Kennedy was president, gas was 31 cents a gallon, and man was 7 years away from landing on the moon.
아이만 있으면 장난을 많이 하죠.
말 말라요. 개와 고양이입니다.
아들은 어느 학교에 다닙니까?
외국어 대학. 3학년.
무슨 말을 배워요?
영어.
대나고 즐겨하지 않는 모양입니다.
난 글쎄, 좀 편안하면, 이것은 심심풀이.
심심풀이입니까?
그럼. Everyone has to adapt themselves to their life. It's no difference than a man in society, a young man. He goes in the military. But in the military, you don't have no freedom. You're on duty 24 hours a day, and you have to adapt yourself to the organizational life. So it's the same with leaving one country and going to another country. One has to adapt himself. At first, you might find it rather difficult, but as a little times pass, it's not so hard a thing to do.
Korea is the Cold War's final frontier. Panmunjom, its most visible symbol of continued division. Here, along the Korean demilitarized zone, nearly 2 million soldiers still face each other, ready for war at any time. The DMZ was described by President Clinton as the scariest place on earth. In 1950, Korea experienced at firsthand the brutal realities of the Cold War, a clash of ideologies that would devastate the peninsula and divide it to this day. The Korean War was one of the most vicious of the 20th century. An estimated 4 million people, many of them civilians, were killed in 3 years of fighting. The U.S. led the support for the South, whilst the North was backed by the Red Alliance of the Soviet Union and newly communist China. Hostilities ended with Korea still split along the 38th parallel, but a peace treaty has never been signed. The Korean War became known in the West as the Forgotten War. In North Korea, it is the victorious Fatherland Liberation War. The war left an indelible stain on the psyche of both sides. In North Korea, the indiscriminate bombing and tales of atrocities by the U.S. were seen as examples of the aggressive and criminal nature of U.S. imperialism. In the West, counter-stories of atrocities on civilians and mistreatment of prisoners of war was proof of the evils of communism. The gruesome experience of Korea confirmed to many in the U.S. that the spread of communism was to be prevented at all costs. Throughout the 1950s, the inherent duty of every honorable American was to be anti-communist.